Hey guys, how's it going? We are live. Let me just light up. It gets darker and darker sooner out here. See y'all jumping on here. Hello, hello, hello. Nova Scotia, Las Vegas, some other places. Yeah, good to see all of you on here. When is the Pro Trainer course coming out? Well, the course has been shot. It is ready to go. All we're waiting for are the tech people now to do their jobs. I've said it before. I'll say it again. So with the Pro Trainer course, that course is going to be open first to elite members. So I am not just allowing people willy-nilly to join that course. We're going to do cohorts for that course because I want to be able to manage everybody in the course properly because it involves one-on-one coaching. So our Pro Trainer and certification course is going to be open first to elite members. So all my existing people in my online courses. So if you have one of my online courses, you're eligible to take the course first. So if you are interested, I'll open our email up now to people that are interested because we're putting a list together for the first cohort. And you can email us at info@shieldk9.ca. In fact, I'll put it in the description at the end of this video, info@shieldk9.ca. And again, I'm opening it to elite members first. So, Massachusetts, California. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys are interested in that course. The Philippines, Alberta, awesome. Panama. Man, we got everything in here. We got Israel, Omer. How you doing, Omer? We got everybody in the house here today. Must be the time of day or something. Anyways, yeah, I know a lot of people are interested in this course. I think it's pretty exciting, that we're finally going to have our own trainer course and certification course out there, and I think it's gonna really establish a very strong community. Like our online training already, I didn't realize how much you could do with online training until I started training people online, and the amount of people I see all over the world just training really well with their dogs, doing all the same things that we do here, having all the same success that we have here. It's super awesome to see. So I know that doing a dog trainer course is the only logical extension of that. So really happy that we'll be offering that soon. Got a few of your online courses. They're very good, very helpful. Give my love to Mace. I don't think he'll care if I give him your love, but I'm glad you like the online courses. Somebody says, "Has what's up? Your book is fantastic. I constantly get compliments from my pup on how well he's trained and obeys his commands. All thanks to using your methods. You, my friend, are awesome." Hey, man, that's awesome. As a dog trainer, it's like, after a while, it's like, you train so many dogs, and it's like, yeah, it's still cool to train dogs, but I'm at the stage now in my career where I think it's really cool to be able to get other people doing what I'm doing and having success. I really like that. As always, anyone in my elite courses, anybody in my South Africa in the house, goddamn, Louisiana, Australia, this is worldwide, man. Bolivia, you guys are from all over. Mississippi, Germany, Germany in the house. England, god damn, you guys are awesome. All right, Let's see what else we got. Are you doing the same thing as TWC then with the online stuff? I don't know what TWC is. Like, I don't know anything about Ivan's course, to be honest with you. Like, I know he has a course. My course is so my I basically have two grades of trainer that I'm going to certify. Initially, all I'm going to do is certify pro trainers. Okay, these are trainers that they can functionally obedience train a dog. They can on and off leash obedience train a dog or a puppy, and they can fix basic behavioral issues. I mean, that's about 95% of the market, if you really think about it. The vast majority of people that come to a dog trainer, these are the things that they need. And my pro trainers, when I'm training people and certifying them, are going to be able to service like 95% of the market. Then we start getting into the more advanced specialty skills, right? And that's where I'm going to actually create like a master trainer class. And those people will have to come and get that certification in person. But pro trainer, even though there is a practical test where you actually have to train a dog through our entire course, you can do that online. Again, guys, if you're interested in signing up, I'm going to put the email below in the description once we're done this live, and you can hit us up via email and we'll add you to the list. Glad to hear it, Omer. Glad you're doing well. Yes, the fun seminar next weekend. We're excited. I always like, I always like training with that guy. I always like seeing his work, and he's somebody that he always gives me something when he comes or when I go to him. I always leave with something, and I like trainers like that. New Hampshire, Melissa, good to see you. I love your online courses. I incorporate your techniques to my group classes. Good. Montreal. How can they not be successful using your methods? You make it so simple to understand and be successful. Thanks. Well, I'm very like whenever I train someone, I always think about what could go wrong, right? And I think not enough people do that in their training. They just kind of assume everything's going to go well. I assume they're going to make a dozen mistakes, things are going to go wrong, the dog's not going to react the way they want them to react. And since I've had the benefit of dealing with a lot of challenging clients and challenging dogs, I kind of already know what can go wrong, and I can prepare people for that. And when people are prepared for what can go wrong or how to avoid things going wrong, when the system is organized like that, then the training goes well generally. Why did I decide to be Mace's handler instead of being his decoy? Did I do that to train my decoys? No, because being his handler was definitely the most challenging task, and I didn't trust anybody else here to do it the way that I can do it. That's why. Um, I made your reactivity online course, great course, but when I correct the fixation with my Ridgeback, that very reactive to other dogs on walks, it's make escalation forward. Any suggestion? Yeah, you're not correcting it. You're negatively reinforcing it. We go over that in the course and we go over how to address it. Get in the online group and, ask your questions there. There are people there that will help you through that. I'm in there. I'll help you through that. But fundamentally, you're not correcting your dog. You think you're correcting your dog, but your dog's telling you otherwise, right? If you correct your dog and something other than a suppression in the behavior occurs, you didn't correct your dog. Why did I name the dog Mace? Because his name was Mike, and I didn't think he was a Mike. How long would my pro trainer certification course be? A few months, a year, or has it not been decided yet? It's not about time. It's about, can you get through the content, train the dog, and pass the tests, right? It could take you a few months or it could take you a year. It really depends on you, right? Depends on your level of competence and how well you get through this through all the content, how much you apply yourself. I don't have a plan to open a course, sorry, a facility in Montreal, but we have, whoa, we got overbalanced there. Hold on, let me reset my phone here, guys. We have a facility in Ottawa, so I don't really need to open anything in Montreal right now. If you guys in Montreal need help with your dogs, then hit up our people in Ottawa. Let's make sure my phone doesn't fall over again. There we go. Mace's approximate weight, probably about 95 pounds, if I had to guess. Maybe 100. How's the bite night going? It's going well. It's basically just an open night that people can bring their dogs and do some bite work with some of my people. I have the best dog in the world thanks to your online puppy training and off-leash courses. Awesome, Stephanie. I'm happy you appreciate it. So I'm going to talk about the difference between plus P and minus R then, which would be very useful. I've talked about the difference between punishment and negative reinforcement many times. Fundamentally, it's this. If you have a behavior you don't like your dog being reactive, for instance, and you go to correct your dog, and I put correct in quotations, because in your mind, you're going to like, okay, you know, my dog's doing this thing I don't like, so now I'm going to correct my dog, whatever your correction is. I don't care what you're doing, what you're using, whatever. And the behavior stays the same or gets worse, you did not correct your dog. I don't care if you shot your dog with a gun. You did not correct your dog, okay? Your dog perceived whatever it is that you did as either nothing, if nothing changed, or at best nothing, or at worst, negative reinforcement to make more intensity into the behavior. So let's say you gave your dog a leash correction, right? And your dog's being reactive. You give your dog a leash correction and he turns it up 3 notches and he gets even worse. Well, you did not punish that behavior you were trying to punish. You negatively reinforced that behavior. You made it worse, right? A lot of people are confused. Or if you do that and the dog turns around and comes for you, you didn't correct the target behavior. All you did was you negatively reinforced the alternate behavior of the dog redirecting onto you. And this is a mistake a lot of people make. And usually, they misdiagnose the mistake, right? They'll say things like, oh, my dog's angry at me because I corrected my dog and I'm ruining my relationship and blah, 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 blah. And don't get me wrong. It's not good for your relationship that your dog, you know, doesn't respect you when you say no. That is indeed extremely bad for any relationship, especially a dog-human relationship. But they try, a lot of people like try kind of like these very, they try very ineffective methods to pressure the dog out of the behavior. It doesn't work. If anything, it makes it worse. And then they say, well, it's these tools. These tools don't work. The prong collar doesn't work. The e-collar doesn't work. This magic collar or that magic collar doesn't work. Punishment doesn't work. It's like, no, stupid. You didn't punish your dog. Those tools are those tools. They're tools. They're inanimate objects. They're neither good nor bad. What you are is you lack the ability. You lack the skill, you lack the ability, you lack the timing to use those tools correctly. So a lot of people try a few times and they're like, oh, nothing works. My dog's crazy. Or, you know, this method doesn't work. Let me try the hot dogs now. And then they try the hot dogs. That doesn't work either. But, you know, so it's always like people quit too quickly and people don't take enough responsibility when it comes to this type of stuff. In many cases, it's simply you either aren't using the tool in the correct way, you're not using it with the correct timing, or you're using it with a very low intensity. So you're in the range of negative reinforcement, not in the range of punishment, right? Fundamentally, if you correct your dog for doing something and the dog shows a suppressive behavior, not an alternate behavior, but a suppressive behavior, shows complete suppression, right, which I find most people aren't able to do. It's quite rare for me to see somebody able to do this unless the dog's very sensitive. Then you're not punishing the dog. All you're doing is you're either negatively reinforcing an alternate behavior or negatively reinforcing the dog to become even worse in the targeted behavior that you're after. I don't comment on other dog training companies. It's just not. It's not classy unless it's something where I think that they're really doing some harmful stuff or spreading some really bad information, or I really like them. Like I don't comment. When are we getting a U.S. location? I don't know. Yeah, a lot of people want a location. The West Coast does need a. It is amazing to me how few good dog trainers there are on the West Coast. I don't know what's happening out there. Um, why I don't want more antisocial dogs after Gage? Because there's limited utility for those dogs, right? Like it's harder to sell those dogs. It's harder to compete with those dogs. There are some people that appreciate those dogs and want or need those dogs, but there's also a lot of people that don't. So, it's better to have dogs that are a little bit more balanced from a social perspective. Have I thought about keeping Mace? No, no. I don't know why people keep asking me, keep the dog. Why? Do you realize how many dogs I train? It would not be fair for this dog to be stuck in a kennel getting worked once in a blue moon. He needs to go and be somebody's like main or second dog. He wouldn't even be my second dog. He wouldn't even be my third dog, right? He'd be like number 4, number 5, maybe even number 6. Like that's no kind of life. It's a very selfish thing. Like I'm very tired of people. Like if I'm gonna keep a dog, I'll keep a dog. I don't need people on the internet to tell me to keep a dog. You know what I mean? Like it's a very selfish thing. Like a lot of people keep the dog. He loves you. Yeah, guess what? He's gonna love somebody else too. They all can love somebody else, right? There's this like very selfish, human emotion that a lot of people have. They assume, oh, the dog loves you, can't love anybody else. Of course they can. Feed them for 2 weeks. They love you. Give them rules. Be consistent with them. They love you. What they don't love is if you're inconsistent. If you don't look after them, if you try to bribe your way into their heart or something like this, it's like that. None of these things work. But like, you know, it would be selfish to keep dog like that. That type of dog needs to work. What is the first course someone should get off you? Depends what you've got. You got a puppy, get the puppy course. You got a dog that's over 6 months of age and you want good obedience, get the elite off leash course. We got bundles, puppy to adult bundle, rescue dog bundle, reactive rehab bundle. We got something for everybody. We got a sport dog bundle if you want to do the sport training that I do. What's the plan with Bang in the future? Breeding or IGP? So breeding and IGP, right? Will I compete with her? I don't know yet. I'm training her. Every day I put in a little bit of work with Bang, and we'll kind of see where she ends up. Your vids help so much. Thank you. Appreciate that. I don't know any club or training group in Nova Scotia. No, sorry. Glad you guys are getting on here. Ty, glad you jumped on. Your no-nonsense training book applies to all breeds, except for Huskies, Chows, and Pit Bulls. Of course it does. Like, I don't know why people act like every dog is like their breed is special. Oh, my breed doesn't learn the way that every other dog learns. All dogs learn, think, and communicate the same way. Now, their thresholds can be different. Their levels of motivation or biddability can be different. But individuals can be different too. You can get a German Shepherd who's very open, confident, and biddable, and you can get a German Shepherd who's very fearful, has no drive, and very low biddability. People need to stop thinking that breeds are special, and this breed doesn't. I have trained literally, I won't say every dog breed out there because I'm sure there's one that I haven't. But I train them, and I train them all the same way in my training system. Do I change like some things? Like maybe I use a little more stick, a little less carrot, a little more carrot, a little less stick? Sure. But at the end of the day, it's a dog. 4 legs, a tail, maybe not even a tail. Doesn't matter. We train them all the same way. It works 100% the same way. Do you guys do any search and rescue training with your dogs? No, I've never been into SAR. Reasoning behind breeding mace but saying handler aggression is genetic? Because I ain't going to make other maces. Handler aggression can be genetic. I didn't say it is genetic. It can be genetic. There is a genetic predisposition in the Dutch Shepherd breed for handler aggression. I'll tell you something about handler aggression. So it's good and it's bad. So there is a breeder that I buy a lot of dogs from. Okay? There's a breeder I buy a lot of dogs from, and I've been buying dogs from him now for many years. And what he does is all he does is he buys stud dogs that are too much, that are too extreme, that chewed up a handler, that, they're generally just too much. They're just extreme dogs. And what he does is he buys these stud dogs and he breeds them to his females. His females, like, I haven't really seen any of his females, to be honest. I don't think he works any of his females. They're just normal females, okay? They could be good, they could be not good, I don't know. But he breeds these studs, these type of dogs to his females. And he keeps back some puppies and he uses them for breeding. So at this point in time now, if you look at the pedigrees of the dogs, okay, you will always see, like, okay, this dog, this is the male now, the sire of the pedigree, but like, okay, he's a motherfucker. There's the female. I don't know anything about the female, but the female's father was a motherfucker. And then you look and you see her grandfather was a motherfucker on both sides. Oh, yeah, that one chewed up somebody. Oh, yeah, that one was a crazy one. And then you go back and you just look at the female line, and it's like all based on the only dogs you'll know in that female line really is the males, right? And they're all motherfuckers. They're all extreme dogs. And here's the thing, a lot of the big famous stud dogs people talk about were also handler aggressive as well. So there's something about, so anyways, jumping back to this because I jumped away from it for a second. This breed, his dogs, he produces some really, really nice dogs, especially now. Like the consistency of his litters now, I'm very much a fan of. I am buying a lot of dogs from him always, and lately I've noticed the quality has even turned up another notch. And it's because generation after generation after generation of breeding to males like that, right? Dogs that are capable of handler aggression. They're not just randomly attacking people. These are strong dogs. They were strong in the work, but they also had these traits of handler aggression. And I think it goes hand in hand with that type A personality, very strong, extreme, dominant dog. Of course, you're going to get this type of behavior. Extreme prey or extreme anything, it's more dangerous to handle a dog like that because for sure the frustration, whatever, can lead to handler aggression. So handler aggression is something that a lot of people that haven't been around it a lot don't understand, right? And they make it worse, or they think it's, just terrifying and they stay away from it. I bred Vasco. Vasco's extremely handler aggressive. All the puppies extremely stable, right? Which I had a feeling they would be, right? You need these types of dogs for breeding. These primal, independent, strong-willed, extreme dogs. Now, usually the female isn't like that, right? And you intentionally pick females that are kind of opposite to that, except obviously in the good ways. Like we don't want to pick no drive, like some low drive nerve bag of a female, but like a social female who has nice drive and nice grips, and then you put her to a motherfucker and you do this for generations. And there you go. Some people are like, oh, everything's built on the mother line, right? Everything's built on the mother line. It's all about the mother line. But the mother line can be built on strong studs, right? And I've seen that. I've seen it in practice. I've seen all the puppies from it. I've seen the young adult dogs that I buy from it. So, no, there's nothing about Mace that makes me think he's unstable. I think he's just one of those dogs. And I think he's actually a good dog for breeding. If you guys have any of those badass Shield Canine mats in stock. Yeah, Brent, sorry, buddy. It's not up on the website right now. We'll get them up there for next week. I have 3 of your courses. I'm curious if you've added any free shaping of any sort to your training since filming courses. No, I don't free shape. It's a waste of time. Why would I do it? Right? This idea that you just sit there and, let the dog work it out, and then when he works out the right thing, you reward him. It's like one of these things. It's like hippy dippy shit. You just sit there and it's so great. I'll just watch him experiment with behaviors, and I'll click my little clicker when he does a good job. Some hippy dippy shit. Why would you do that? What a waste of time. Just take the dog, train the dog to do what you want to do, and do it. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it sounds great in theory, and there's for sure certain type of people love that type of stuff. That's not for me. I don't have time for that. What else we got here? Avoiding gossip is the best way to live. And there's too many people in this industry that wish ill upon others. I try not to wish ill upon others, even if they've upset me or spoken ill of me or done something to me. Obviously, not physically, but something. I try not to wish ill upon others because it's like a poison. It feels like it's kind of like, maybe it's like a drug or something. Like it feels good to do at the time, but like it never leads to anything good. Ever, 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 ever. Keep everything as positive as you can possibly keep it. Don't wish ill upon anybody. Be happy for somebody if they do something, even if it's something you wanted to do. Be happy for them. Say good for him. And hopefully God will bring that goodness to you someday. Is there a difference if the handler is a male or female? Are dogs more responsive or obedient if the handler is male? Just curious. Dogs know the difference. For some dogs, it makes a difference, but there's no guarantee of a difference. Hey, man, I just want to thank you for your book and your free content. Thanks to you, I'm a better pet owner for a nervy dog and a better decoy and protection work. Already waiting for your new book. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. If you are negative, so you're saying if you are using negative reinforcement instead of positive punishment, then what? Go harsher then to suppress the behavior? Wouldn't that make the dog fearful? Now we get to the root of why you struggle to understand this concept. Of course it's going to make the dog fearful. A punishment should make the dog afraid. Should the dog just be comfortable in the behavior that they're offering that's undesirable, that's dangerous? Right? If my dog's being reactive, you damn right want, like you darn right want to believe that I want my dog to be afraid of being reactive. Otherwise, why would he stop being reactive? That is an intrinsically rewarding behavior. Most things dogs do, there's some level of intrinsic reinforcement that they get from that behavior. Otherwise, they wouldn't offer it, right? So behaviors like reactivity, it's like, everyone's like, it's fear-based, it's fear-based. Yeah, fear is a component of why they do that. Many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases. But it is certainly not exclusively fear-based. And there is a level of intrinsic satisfaction many, many reactive dogs get from that behavior. They're getting a positive feeling from that behavior. So when you're punishing a dog for that behavior, you're saying, if you do this thing that you're doing now, whatever this thing is, reactivity, whatever, okay, something aversive, unpleasant, mentally, physically, both, is going to happen to you that you are afraid of, that you don't like. And the dog is going to perceive that thing in such a negative way that they're going to say, well, even though I get something out of this behavior, I'm afraid of the consequences of this behavior. Therefore, I will not perform this behavior. Now, this idea that it's just going to create like a general state of fear and the dog's going to be afraid forever, that's nonsense. If a dog understands a contingency for a punishment, then they're not going to live in this state of general fear. I'll give you an example. Okay? We live in a country, I assume you live in one too, that has many laws. There are many things that you cannot do whether you want to or not, right? Like I can't go and speed down this road at 200 kilometers per hour. Well, I could, But if I get caught, they're going to take my car. They're going to arrest me. 200 kilometers an hour is very fast for this road, by the way. It's like 140 over the limit, right? They're going to take my car. They're going to arrest me. I'm going to have to go through this long legal process. I'm going to have to bail out of jail. I'm going to have to go to court. Probably all in all, it's going to cost me like 40 grand, right? I am afraid of that consequence. Sometimes I would like to drive 200 kilometers down that road. And if there was no law preventing me from doing it, I probably would, okay? But I am afraid of the consequence. Now, I don't live in a general state of fear because I understand the contingency for why that punishment would be applied. I understand what I need to do in order for that bad thing to happen to me. Now, if I was getting randomly pulled over for sometimes driving the speed limit, sometimes driving below the speed limit, sometimes driving above the speed limit, and getting random punishments from the law, like today it's a $20 ticket, tomorrow it's a $500 ticket, the next day maybe I'm driving 40 kilometers per hour and they pull me over, take my car, and arrest me, well, then I would drive in a general state of fear because I wouldn't understand the contingency for the punishment, right? This is why a lot of people half-ass punishment. Because they're trying to go into this place where it's like, oh, look, it didn't bother him that much. Well, if it didn't bother him that much, you didn't punish him, right? That's the whole thing. And that's why most people fail at punishing behavior. Too much talking, not enough smoking. Can you explain how important it is to continue training once your dog is trained? Of course it's important. Anything that, is worthwhile requires maintenance and upkeep. I want to train my dogs to protect. What command should I start with for training? Why? The fact that you asked me that question leads me to believe that you know absolutely nothing about protection training. No offense. What would it matter? Let's say I said, okay, teach them the watch command. Do you know how to do that? It wouldn't matter. You're thinking of dog training in terms of commands. Commands are verbal signals that we ultimately teach the dog and pair with specific behaviors. I could say pumpkin to my dog and my dog could light up, right? It's not about commands. It's about teaching behavior, pairing emotion to specific behavior, and then pairing verbal signals to all of that, right? It's not about commands. It's about being able to actually, select the right dog for that work, and then teach the dog the skills, the fundamental skills that they need, the barking, the biting, how to bite, how to bark, how to deal with a threat, all that type of stuff. Teaching them those fundamental skills and then worrying about teaching them the commands to associate with the specific individual behaviors. Name some famous either WUSV dogs you would love to own and why. Past or present. Dog to live with? Bordy Blendy. That dog looks cool. I like him. I think he would be a really cool dog to live with and just like hang out with and train with and just be with. Dog for breeding. Henrik von Wolfsheim seems very interesting. That was an interesting dog. Who else had a freaking killer of a dog? Henrik was really cool. I think the other dog, Zanuck von Gronstar, he was a pretty cool dog, just extreme speed. Omer says, I miss getting bit from Mace. No dogs like him here. Man, you live in a war zone. They should have dogs like Mace. They should have, that is exactly the kind of environment that Mace should be in. What course is best to buy if you want to learn the difference between minus R and plus P and how to diagnose it correctly? I told you how to diagnose it, my friend. It's already there. Like, it's not a specific course, right? Like in my reactive course, we go over all of these things, but fundamentally, it's not a diagnosis. The dog tells you. If the dog stops the thing that you don't want them to do when you punish them, right? If they stop, they show suppressive behavior, you punish them. If they get worse or nothing changes, you didn't. It's just that simple. Can you tell us more about your trainers in Ottawa? Yeah, Ottawa's run by Greg. Okay, he was a friend of mine, former client originally. Really cool guy. He's going to be here for a podcast actually late November. So I'm going to do a podcast with him. You guys can learn all about him. Interesting guy, interesting history. You know, he's been in law enforcement. He's done some things, and he has an interesting story with his dog. And then Shelby, is you guys can go on the website and read her bio and all this type of stuff. But she's a very competent trainer. She came here, she trained a little bit. So obviously anybody who's going to open a branch for me, I need to make sure that, even though everything might look good, they have all the right accolades and all that type of stuff. We want to make sure obviously that they know what they're doing. So anyway, she came here and she did a little apprenticeship here, just taught her the shield canine way, so on and so forth. But very good trainer. She's involved in PSA too, for those of you that are interested in PSA. And she's been titling and training her dogs in PSA for a while. Before that, she was in IGP too. So we try not to hate on her for switching from IGP to PSA, but it's kind of hard. But she's a very good trainer, very personable. And so is Greg. Greg's very personable. He's actually working. Greg's actually in my trainer course right now. He's the only person I've allowed in my trainer course. He's in my trainer course right now, and he's most of the way through it from the looks of it. So he'll be our first certified pro trainer. Training camp in Charlotte. I don't know. Sorry, guys. I'm falling behind. Yeah. It's nice to see you guys on here. A lot of people happy they caught the live. Has there been any dog that you weren't able to train? You know what? There was once a dog. It was a sheepadoodle. It was a sheepadoodle of all things. Nasty, nasty piece of work. Really bad with the handler, really bad with anybody. Just basically like anything he didn't like, any kind of thing that made him uncomfortable, just full on aggression. Like, and not like half-ass, like, man, like I'm going to kill you or kill myself trying to kill you level. And we put a lot of inhibition on him. We got him to the point where, like, we took him through the whole training and all that stuff, but it was still inside of him. It was still inside of him. And you could see, like, he just would go for it. He would just come back to it. It was so hardwired in him. Like he'd have a couple of good days and then he'd lash out again. Like, it was so hardwired into him, that just horrible behavior. In my opinion, we never got that dog as far as I wanted to get him, but also based on having him here for as long as we had him here and working with him, he was, I think there was some neurological stuff wrong with him, unfortunately. That not every dog is a good candidate to be a pet. Not every dog is a dog that, just like, unfortunately, not every human can be out in society. I think there are some dogs, not as many as people would like you to believe, but there are certainly some dogs where it's better to just call it a day. And he was one of those dogs that I think, kind of fell into that category. We got it better, but we never got it as far as I wanted it to get. So he breeds studs like Danger? Yeah, he does. What is your experience with German Rottweilers? I've had a few of them come through here. They're cool dogs. The typical Rottie's demeanor. They're usually pretty motivated dogs. Like they like to work for food, they like to play, they're very intense, but they're also very stubborn, and they're dogs that kick into arousal really, really quickly. And they're usually bad with other dogs. So like especially the males, for whatever reason, the males tend to be pretty bad around other dogs. So everything will be great, and then they'll see another dog, and then all of a sudden they'll get hyper aroused by the other dog. And before, when this dog was super responsive, working with you, everything was great. All of a sudden, like he's just like, you don't exist anymore. He's full on the other dog. And then if you put the pressure on him to try and get him to stop fixating or becoming aroused by the other dog, then you can start to see maybe like a redirection or a protest behavior, something like that. So they can be a little bit challenging for some people. Aaron asks, is that where the new puppy is from? No, Aaron, that is not where the new puppy is from. The new puppy is not from that breeder. CO Caucasian Ovcharka have suppressed his attempted attacks on me. Muzzle exception work. My question is about suiting up and taking a bite so I can show him regardless I'm no threat. Did Kevin get a bite? No. I have never put on a bite suit and let a pet dog bite me. Ever. Right? That's not something I do. You know? And letting him bite you to show him you're no threat is not the solution. I take the muzzle off when the dog tells me they're ready for me to take the muzzle off. If all the behavior is good, the dog acts nice around me, the dog's happy to see me, then it's time to take the muzzle off. If the dog is still showing me a ton of danger signs through the muzzle, well, I'm not going to take it off, right? And that's something where it's like, it's not, that's we're out of the online course level stuff. Like when we're working with really aggressive dogs that can and will hurt you, and we're talking about when should we take the muzzle off, this is now where it comes down to the skill and the feel of the trainer. But definitely not letting dogs chew on me in a bite suit. It's never something that I would allow. Now, that being said, I have seen people put on bite suits to punish a dog for biting, because obviously you can take a bite in a bite suit if the dog bites you in the right place, and punish the dog for biting you. I've seen people do that. I've never personally done it, but I have seen people do it. Are Preza Canario handler aggressive? They can be, but it's not very common for the breed. Would I recommend a DDR Shepherd or a Czech for an active person? Neither of those. You need to watch my video on DDR and Czech Shepherds, right? Like, let me ask you this. In 2023, why do you think the locality of a German Shepherd matters? Like, go and look at the dogs who were involved in the Czech championships, all right? The Czech championships. Not one of those dogs in the Czech championship was like a pure Czech dog, as far as I know. Not one of those dogs. They all had various localities in their blood. So the professionals, the people at the top end of working and training with German Shepherds, don't care about the specific locality of where their dogs are born. Why do you? Right? It's not what matters. The locality of the dog is only something that we use, that unscrupulous vendors use to upsell dogs to people that don't know any better. Oh, this one's DDR. Oh, it's DDR. Oh, okay. Let me pay an extra 10 grand. You get this nervy dog. The same with the Czech dogs, right? Like, in most cases, they are not this idea of like, oh, purebred Czech or pure DDR. It's just absolute nonsense. It's just a sales gimmick. People that actually work and train the dogs in a serious manner don't care. How do I correct a Saint Bernard for reactivity? Take my reactivity course. That will give you some ideas. There's no like I don't talk about correcting dogs, like how to correct your dog on here, because it's not just how to correct your dog. You don't just have a reactivity problem. You have a lot of problems if your dog's being reactive. So, every real dog that I've worked with had some handler aggression at some point. You have to plan on it and prepare for it. Overcome the issue, and you end up with a super dog. Absolutely. Onyx Von Diandico. I wonder who that is. Everyone wants a gangster dog until it's time to live with one. Hello from Onyx and I in sunny and warm 80-degree Florida. Well, Mark, I don't think it's 80 degrees today, as you can see by my getup. But, you know, glad you guys are having a nice one down there. Onyx is living. Onyx is case in point. I'm done. I'm done with the dog. I'm not competing with the dog anymore. Why would I keep the dog? I gave him to Mark. Mark takes his dog everywhere. He does everything with his dog. The dog's in Florida, swimming in the pool, right? Like living his best life. Why the fuck am I keeping the dog? So he can live in the kennel here? It's stupid, right? How do I take a sleeve happy dog and make it focus just on the man? Well, that would really depend on why the dog is sleeve happy. And what does sleeve happy mean? Does that mean he'll only bite the sleeve, and if there's no sleeve, he won't bite the decoy? Does that mean that he just looks at the sleeve when he barks? There's many reasons that can happen. My new dog, I have a new dog by the way. We'll probably make a proper YouTube video introducing him at some point. But he tends to look at the sleeve in the guarding, and that's because there was a mistake made when they were training him. They basically taught him it's okay to do. And for dogs that have high prey, it's actually quite normal that they will look where they're going to bite, right? So let's say you did all your bite work with the sleeve, okay? A ton of bite work with the sleeve. Why the hell is the dog going to look at you in the eyes if he is planning to bite you here or here? Why look here? He's only waiting for his opportunity to bite this. Stare at the prey. This is the prey, right? High prey dogs tend to do that, right? If they're not trained to look here in order to get here, right? So it really depends. And then some dogs are weak, right? Like they're weak and they learn like, hey, I don't want to deal with the guy. He's kind of scary, but I'll look at the bite object, right? So there can be a lot of different reasons why the dog looks at the sleeve. And depending on those reasons will depend on what we do in the training to try and fix the problem. But fundamentally, when you look at it as a training problem, you say, okay, this is bad. I don't want him to look here. So if I keep rewarding him with this, am I going to make the problem better or worse? Well, probably worse, right? Because this is what he looks at because he is always getting this as his reward. So I want him to look here. So number one, I need to make this uncomfortable and I need to make this comfortable. Okay? And then when it's time for him to get this, I need to have a way of letting him know from here that you're going to get this, but also that he not just come and take it, that maybe I move him to a different spot and then give it to him. That can be maybe some ideas for you. What is the best way to introduce the new dog into your household? In structure. Bring the dog in, let the dog hang out in the house. Don't leave them unsupervised. Take them on some walks together, keep them kind of separate but together in the beginning for a few days. Let them kind of get used to each other, calm around each other, and then you can allow the introduction to happen. Am I planning on writing another book? Yes, I'm going to write a book on protection. It's one of the many things on my docket. Appreciate that, dog trainer Cebu. Best dog trainer and teacher ever. Direct to the point, no BS. Can your Labrador do protection work? Maybe. Got to see the dog. I mean, I wouldn't do it. Like anyone tells me, hey, like I want to train my husky protection work. I say, not with me, my friend. I like to put round pegs in round holes and square pegs in square holes. You want, my advice is like, look, you want to do protection? Get the dog for that work. You want to do duck hunting? Get the dog for that work. Get the right dog for the right job. What's the difference between civil aggression and reactivity? Ah, somebody's smart. In many cases, not much. Dogs that tend to be reactive to humans tend to make pretty good civil aggression. Now, the quality of the grip once they get there, now that can be interchangeable. But civil aggression, right, for those of you that don't understand what he's talking about aggression on a man with no equipment, okay? So it's the dog's not just kind of barking for a sleeve or a suit or something. The dog is, there's no equipment and the dog is aggressing on the man with no equipment. Um, there's not a lot of difference, but again, think of reactivity as a mindset that is more reacting instead of proacting. And in protection, there's a time for reacting, but there's also a time for proacting. And I like a dog that is able to do both. So if the threat presents itself and gets, you know, it gets in our face or whatever it is, I want my dog to react to that threat and react to it in such a way that he then begins to proact towards it, if it makes sense, right? Like he reacted, but then he needs to get proactive. The problem with reactivity is a lot of the time it's a behavior that requires feeding constantly. It's not a behavior that then begins to feed itself or the dog becomes proactive, right? And starts to take control instead of kind of like if you think about two guys sparring, if you're just sitting back waiting for the other guy to throw his shot so that you can then counter or block or respond in some way, well, you're letting the other guy lead the dance. Sometimes bad things happen when you do that. In fact, oftentimes bad things happen when you do that. Versus getting out there and starting to push the other guy, getting him to do what you want him to do, move his feet where you want him to move his feet, put his hands where you want him to put his hands, you know. So reactivity is not an appropriate way to look at civil aggression, but they're very adjacent to one another. If you remember, my two GSDs got into it over food, drop from Bruce, your dog, son of Vasco. Never instigates. I did the bonker the way you told me to. It worked perfectly. It worked perfectly. Perfectly. Excellent. But then you said trip to hospital for me. I know you got bit by the other dog when they were fighting, or they got into a fight over food and you got bit. So I assume you're talking about previously, not after you did what I told you to do. In fact, I hope not. Um, is your scent work foundation videos from years ago still the same as the present? In terms of teaching article indications, yeah, yeah, very similar, pretty much the same thing. Do I have any experience with Czechoslovakia Vikax? Are you talking about the Czech wolf dogs? If so, yes. What do I think of the breed? I mean, it's kind of like a nervy husky. Do I offer mentorship programs? We're going to have a Shield Pro Trainer course. That's going to be my mentorship program. Would you recommend an Irish setter for first-time dog owner? Absolutely. Those are generally quite nice dogs. Hay has been watching you for a year or two now and would like to understand the implications of being a decoy for your own dog from the prey drive point of view, not the defensive, obviously. There are no there are no implications in that like something bad will happen other than if you don't know what you're doing, which most new decoys don't know what they're doing for the first couple of years, you're going to make a lot of mistakes with your dog and you're probably going to cause more problems than you fix. So, if you're comfortable with that, go for it. Will I do a protection seminar in Ottawa? Yeah, probably. Speaking of negative reinforcement and positive punishment, when does the intensity in positive punishment become unethical? And what would one do to not go over the top? Surely it's better to work out why before punishing. What are you talking about? There are some things that there is nothing I won't do to make it stop. So, number one, dog being handler aggressive, there is nothing, mark my words, write it down, record me now. There is nothing I won't do to a dog that bites people or tries to bite me to make him stop. Nothing. Hide the kids, cover your eyes. It's going to be bad, right? There is nothing I won't do. Reactivity, okay, obviously you don't generally need to do that much to get that kind of behavior to stop. But to the uninitiated, somebody who isn't used to it, it can seem horrible and abusive and whatever else to make the dog stop. But again, short-term pain, long-term gain, right? We do the same thing when we take our dog to the vet. They shove pieces of metal into the dog, right? They give the dog injections. We cut body parts off the dog. We neuter dogs and remove their ovaries and all that stuff, all on the chance that the dog may, at some point, get some disease or, have some behavioral, it will have some behavioral benefit to do this to the dog and to other animals too, by the way. We do these things. We surgically remove body parts from these animals. We shove pieces of metal into their bodies, right? Not because there's actually something wrong, but because we think something might go wrong at some point in the future, right? And then we talk about something like, hey, I'm going to smack my dog upside the head if he gets reactive, right? Oh, it's terrible. You can't ever hit a dog. Yeah, but you shoved pieces of metal into him because you were worried that at some point he might run into a rabid skunk, right? You cut his nuts off because you thought it would make him behave better. Who's the bad guy here? You or me, right? So it's one of those things where it's like, what are we talking about specifically? Yeah, I told my dog to lie down and he sat. Well, should you be tuning a dog up over that? No, obviously not. But there are certain behaviors that are extremely dangerous, right? That really affect the quality of life of the dog and the human that lives with the dog. And in those cases, I have no problem being very, very firm with the dog about what is right and what is wrong. The problem when people say why, what do you mean why? Why is the dog being reactive? Who cares? He's afraid. Okay. He's excited. Okay. He wants to actually kill the other dog. Okay. Does it matter why? Why did he get in the garbage? He smelled chicken. He smelled the dog treat. Somebody puked in the garbage. Like, who cares? He went in the garbage. He's going in the garbage. He could eat a chicken bone. He could die. The dog didn't come. Why didn't he come? Well, he saw a bunny. There was a smell. Jesus was coming from the sky. It doesn't matter. He didn't come when he was called. He could run into traffic and die, right? Like, it's very, very simple things. The dog pulls me on the leash, right? Why is he pulling? Who cares? He's pulling because you haven't made it bad to not pull, right? So we can fall into this whole why nonsense. And usually the answer why, by the way, is very simple. Like, dogs aren't that complicated. Again, as a famous trainer once said, they eat kitty litter. They're not overly complicated, right? The answers are usually very simple. But we can fall into this whole why all the time and just not solve the problem, or we can just solve the problem. And I'm a big believer in just as I speak to you in a direct way, I speak to the dogs in a direct way, in a way that they understand. This is good. This is bad. Don't ever do this, right? Simple. And they like that because dogs are simple. Those are unavailable for civilians. They breed in closed programs. Omer, well, I have a closed program here for you. I'll send you mace, okay? How about that? You can start your own closed program. Maybe the Israeli government will give you some monetary incentives for his puppies. What do I think about play and people trying to solve everything through play? Like they play with the dog a lot and bring in competing reinforcement and play again afterwards. We play all the time with the dogs here. You don't solve problems through play. What is play? Play is positive reinforcement, right? Play is a cooperative endeavor that you engage in with the dog. It is very useful, but it's definitely not the solution for something like reactivity or something like that. I might use play to help a dog that has a very sensitive emotions or a very fearful predisposition stabilize themselves. But it's not something where it's like, oh, he's reactive, let me play with him and try to avoid the reactivity by just getting him to play with me. That's avoidance. I don't avoid problems. I train right through problems. Seeing another dog is a problem for you? No problem. Let's go fix that and then we'll play. Dog trainer Cebu, send us an email, man. info@shieldk9.ca. Everybody that sends me an email is going to be put on a list. Just tuned in and see you're already yelling. Well, I try to stay consistent. Hey, has been wondering about the Okay, I already read that one. How hard is it to get into selling green police dogs from good Malinois stock? I don't know. Depends who you are. Depends where you are. Depends on your access to the market. You know, police tend to be a little bit of a suspicious bunch. They don't overwhelmingly just accept anybody that says that they're selling dogs. Typically once you've sold a few dogs, it gets certainly a lot easier. Podcast. We have 2 podcasts planned. I'm not going to. I mean, I am planning on shooting a podcast with Stefan, hopefully, and you guys will get access to that hopefully in a couple weeks. Hey, has my 2-year-old Corso with a mentally unstable and neglect abuse since 7 months. Human aggressive, good with random people. Likely good to responsibly rehome versus euthanization. Only you can answer that question. I don't know your dog, so I certainly wouldn't try and say anything. I always say this with euthanization. If the dog is dangerous towards small children and there's a chance that they could ever run into a small child and kill it, kill the dog. You never want the life of a child on your heart, right? So, I'll say this: if the dog is unstable and presents a severe danger to small human beings, kill the dog. That's that's my opinion. Do I have a suggested minimum age for starting e-collar training? Not really. Again, if you know what you're doing with an e-collar, you can start really early or you can start later. I was talking to a guy the other day about a dog he inherited. He wanted to medicate the dog to correct behaviors. Yeah, a lot of people do that. Just as a lot of people medicate themselves to correct behaviors. I'm depressed. I have ADHD. Let me take medication. And like a lot of things, pharmaceuticals are usually probably the last place you should. Pharmaceuticals are great for what they are, right? Like antibiotics, awesome, right? Antibiotics are awesome. When you need them, you fucking need them, right? Antibiotics are awesome. There's a lot of other stuff that's really good to have, and it's a good like kind of temporary thing to kind of just if your body is so traumatized by something, obviously the pharmaceutical can support you and get you past this thing that is either trying to kill you or traumatized you to the point where your body can normalize and then do what it's supposed to do. But I feel like a lot of people and take it as it is. I'm sure there's some people watching this that are on medication right now. By the way, I'm not speaking about severe problems like, you know, schizophrenia and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that stuff. That's a whole different kettle of fish. But people that are depressed or people that have, ADHD and all these types of things, like a lot of the time, when you look strongly and objectively at your diet and at your lifestyle and at the things that you're doing, the answer for why you're depressed or you're scattered mentally or you have trouble focusing or this or that or anything else can be found in that in what you're feeding your body and what you're doing with your body and what you're doing with your mind. Just as with human beings, dogs, it's always the same thing as well, right? It's like, yeah, he's nervous. Yeah, you're not, the solution isn't to lobotomize him. The solution is to teach him how to deal with the nerves in a productive way. He's really excited and aroused all the time. The solution isn't to lobotomize them. And again, a lot of these medications they give the dogs, like I don't know if they're giving them weak stuff or what, because I deal with a lot of dogs on medications. It's like it doesn't work. Like the dog's still doing all the things that supposedly the medication's supposed to fix, right? But yeah, the solution isn't to lobotomize the hyper aroused dog. It is to teach him to control himself when he's feeling aroused, right? And a lot of people, uh, unfortunately, try and just go for the easy solution, the easy pill, the easy collar, the magic treat. Everybody's looking for magic instead of just simple, hard, not always hard, just simple work. Simple work. I heard Shield likes men. What are you, like 10? In one of your videos, you have a group walk with tiny Gage and that female male. You have a padded stick with you. Where did you get that from? You know how many people have asked me about that stick? That is an IGP helper stick. They think it's like some special stick for correcting dogs. Man, it's funny. It's actually a good stick for correcting dogs because it's padded and it's flexible. But it's funny because the stick was literally designed for IGP. I think because they were trying to like make IGP more like friendly to the general public, and they didn't want to actually like use like a reed stick like I think they used to. So they have like this flexible padded stick, and it's like, people thought it was like a special stick that I designed. I should carry them. The tiny spanking stick. Can you do a video on the down and sit in motion? Thanks. I already have videos on all the motion exercises in my online courses, so I wouldn't disrespect the people that took my online courses by like doing detailed how-to videos on those things. Give me Gage. I'm not done with Gage. What if Macy bites his new owner too? Macy could bite me tomorrow. This is life. Live. I'm running a business, not a retirement home. You're right, KT. All right. What else we got here? I have a Malwana Mastiff. I constantly have to repeat his command. He always does it on the second command. What can I do? Well, the problem is for you that he perceives the first command as meaningless. You need to make the first command meaningful. So I'll give you an example. If you have a leash on your dog, which you should if you're giving commands to your dog and you have no ability to actually make him do it, what I would do is I would say sit. And if he doesn't sit after 1 or 2 seconds, I'd simply pull up on the leash. And I'd wait until he sat. And then I'd stop pulling and I'd praise him. And then we'd do it again until he learned that he must sit the first time he hears sit. Do I think my German Shepherd would protect you, or do you think your German Shepherd, do you think my German Shepherd would protect me without training? He's super protective of me and doesn't let me out of his sight. Probably not, but sometimes yes. There's some dogs that for sure would like you know, actually protect their owners. A lot of people misconstrue reactivity with protection, right? Like your dog's reactive and a little bit insecure, so they always have to stay close to daddy. And anytime someone comes close, it's whoa, 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 right? And everyone's like, oh man, he loves me, he's protecting me. And it's like, not really. He's nervous and he's insecure and he's trying to scare the threat, because for him, everybody, every strange thing is a threat, away. And people say, oh, wow, he's protecting me. It's like, nah, man, he's scared. He's scared. He's just trying to make a big show to drive the thing he's really scared of away. So in most cases, the answer is no, but there's always exceptions. Have I ever had any extremely weak nerve shepherds with reactivity come through my training program that failed to respond to the training in some way? No, no. Where can you buy this coat? You can't. I had them custom made for me and some people on my team. Mm. Sorry, guys. I'm behind on all the comments because I'm like trying to get through them one at a time. Some of you guys are asking about the online training program. I already talked about it at the beginning, so go back and watch the beginning. I'm not going to get into that. Get into it. Israelis always pay their invoices and like a specific type of trading. I don't know. I like Omer, but you know, I like Omer. We leave it at that. I wish I could send him to you, Omer. He needs some sun and some sand, some new people to spend time with. Just trying to go through these comments, guys, to get to anything that's interesting. Would it be worth it to drive from New York for bite night? Not really. Bite night isn't just like once in a while. It's more for like people that are like able to get here, you know, preferably once a week, once every other week, and train their dogs, you know. It's like you know, we want a regular list of people. It's not just like a one-off kind of tourism experience. So no, and not really. Thanks for your online course. My boy has been able to pass other dogs on walks. Had to do a few corrections in front of some Karens, but I'm willing to. That's important. Dogs aren't stupid. If you're not willing to correct your dog in front of other people, they figure that out real quick. Just like kids, by the way. What else have we got here? How is Bang going? I watched Nitro win the WSV this morning. Very, very impressive. I'm currently looking for a puppy. As soon as I have one, I'll join your online course. Awesome, man. Bang's doing well. You know, just like her mother line is so impressive. You know, Nitra is such an impressive dog. Not just impressive training. Like you can see the quality in the dog, and I'm excited to have a daughter from her. Just skipping some comments now, guys, because I'm way behind here. Can I vlog bite night? Can we vlog bite night? Not right now. I don't think that's not something that's interesting for me right now. Maybe in the future. Was I always interested in dog training, or did I have an original career? Yeah, I was always interested in dog training. I always liked it, and I did have an original career. I've posted his pedigree 100 times, so I'm not gonna post Mace's pedigree again. But it's on the Instagram. You can see it. Do I offer financing? No, but your credit card does. I don't get involved in lending people money. How long did it take me to become a dog trainer? Years, many years, right? I mean, who defines when you became a dog trainer? But to become the dog trainer I am right now, many, many years. I've got a 5-month-old working line German Shepherd. Training is going well, but it's clear that he is very sensitive to correction. Any advice for how to proceed training moving forward? So, sensitive to correction is good. Makes your life easy, right? Don't do that. Should like some dogs when they're not sensitive to correction, it becomes challenging, especially if you don't know what you're doing. But if he's sensitive to correction, then it's easy for you to make him stop doing something you don't want him to do. You don't have to correct him into doing things you want him to do, right? That's kind of counterproductive, right? The best way to think of it is I'm going to use positive and negative reinforcement to teach a dog to do what I want him to do, and I'm going to use positive punishment to get him to stop doing what I don't want him to do, right? So if he's sensitive, great. All I have to do is like, hey, no, stop that. Good. Now he's done, right? If he's sensitive. Now, I also use negative reinforcement, which a lot of people think is a correction, but it's not, to make sensitive dogs a little bit more strong and resilient. The problem with sensitive dogs and with training sensitive dogs is that a lot of people think of it as, oh, you're weak, so let me do weak training to kind of accommodate your weakness, right? Like it's kind of like if you had like a really sensitive kid and you were always like, okay, let me only say nice things to little Timmy, because if I say anything even remotely harsh, Timmy falls apart and cries and can't do anything, right? And that's the wrong solution for Timmy and for the dog, right? Negative reinforcement is pressure, okay, to get the dog to do something. It's not a correction. And that's what a lot of people confuse. They confuse negative reinforcement with a correction. A correction is to get the dog, it's punishment. Get the dog, stop doing something. I don't like you doing that thing, don't ever do it again, right? That's a correction. But negative reinforcement is pressure to get the dog to do something you want him to do. So something as simple as I pull up on the collar, he puts his ass down, I stop pulling on the collar. That's negative reinforcement. When you use it properly in a training system, you make the dog more resilient. You make the dog more capable of handling stress, just as you do with human beings, right? You put some pressure on them, they do the right thing, you take the pressure away, you praise and you reward them, right? It's very important for dogs and for humans, and I think for any creature that we're training, because it gives the animal or the human resilience. It gives them the ability to productively handle stress without completely falling apart. You see a lot of kids these days, right? They have no ability to handle stress. I'll give you an example. I had my son out. We were wrestling like a little bit a while. Like if you have little kids, they like to get a little rough, right? They like to wrestle and stuff. And I just pushed him over by his head. Like just pushed him over. He fell down. It was carpet on the ground. Don't worry. Hit the ground, right? And he got back up, and I pushed him down again. And he got back up, and I pushed him down again. And I could see he was kind of like a little bit like, oh no, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And then he got back up, and he went, wah, and pushed me. And of course, it didn't do anything to me because he's like 25 pounds, right? And I went, oof. And I like pretended like he pushed me back. And he laughed, and he loved it. And then we got back into it, right? Resilience. Hey, things are a little tough right now. Things are a little tough right now. Things are a little tough right now. What are you going to do? You're going to turtle. You're going to cry. You're going to get up. You're going to do something about it, right? Now, that's an example of kind of like play-based negative reinforcement. But you could also do it in training too. Put a little pressure. Teach the dog to come through the pressure. Teach the dog to be productive. It makes them stronger here, right? And that translates to a lot of things. And that's why a lot of people say, like, how do you train that sensitive dog, right? Like, how are you training these sensitive dogs? Why are they come in crawling on the ground terrified, and then they're walking around acting like everything's normal? Are they still sensitive and fearful? To some degree, yes, but they're able to handle it a lot better, right? Because you desensitize them mentally. You don't get there by just being like, oh, it's okay, coochie coo, here's some hot dogs. I'll never say anything bad to you. Oh, no, I stepped on your paw. Oh, sorry, puppy. No, none of that nonsense, right? Build them up, build them up, build them up, build them up, build them up. And a lot of people don't do that when they train sensitive dogs or sensitive humans. And that's the problem. That's why they never really get anywhere. What do I think about the chameleon e-collar? I think if you live in a place where e-collars are illegal, it's a good option for you. I personally don't own one, but I don't live in anywhere where the e-collars are illegal. I just want to also give you a kudos. My friend and I, oh, you have some Dutch dogs. Castor de Groot, Arco Kicker, bred dogs. Think your training is spot on, especially for a dog like Mace. I appreciate that. It's always good to get your hands on dogs like Mace. Do some training with them. People, I like having my hands in the training of dogs like that from time to time because it makes you better as a dog trainer, and I think dogs like that are something that are really cool. They're really cool dogs, primal dogs. I like dogs like that. All right, guys, I think we've reached the natural end to our live. I appreciate you all jumping on. I guess I'll reiterate the things that I said in the beginning. If you are interested in taking our Pro Trainer course, send us an email at info@shieldk9.ca. Again, I'm going to be doing intakes for the course in cohorts. So I'm not just letting anybody join whenever. It's going to be cohorts. And the first people that I'm going to run through the Pro Trainer course are existing elite members. It's not going to be a cheap course, just an FYI, because it does require one-on-one coaching and testing by myself and some of the other trainers that are going to be working on the course. And it's something that we're going to take very seriously. And quite frankly, it's not a numbers game for us. We don't want a lot of people. We want the right people because we want a community of certified pro trainers that are the type of people that we want to say, these are Shield pro trainers, right? So if you're interested in taking that course, email us at info@shieldk9.ca. We'll put you on our list, and you'll get all the information when the course is ready to rock and roll. The course is finished. I'm just waiting on my tech people to figure it all out and get it going. So I'm sure in a couple of weeks they'll have that together. If you're interested in taking our online courses, check it out, shieldk9online.com. If you're interested in our dogs, shieldk9dogs.com. If you're interested in our local training, shieldk9.ca. Awesome talking to all of you, and it was good speaking to you guys. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.